I think Carter, it makes sense why you draft Carter looking at what they try to go for with Caruso, right? Devin Carter and Alex Caruso are very similar players, especially with the way they play defensively. And my thing is, what does this mean about Colby Jones? Colby Jones and Devin Carter are incredibly similar players.
Yeah.
I think Carter is probably the better player right now, but Colby's a better playmaker. Colby's probably more complete offensively. Carter's better defensively. But what does this mean for Colby Jones? My biggest critique of this front office has been their asset management. They do draft BPA no matter what, which is fine. That's how you should go in drafts. But normally when you draft BPA, you still struggle in retaining the assets that you have at that position, right? Drafted Davion Mitchell high. He's depreciated as an asset because he hasn't been able to show off the skills. You draft Colby Jones with the potential that he'll be something great, but he will also sort of depreciate with Devin Carter here if you end up keeping him, right? He will play for sure. He will be a bench piece. You have a really, really, really good guard rotation right now, but it's confusing. There's a lot of things that need to happen because you still need a wing. You've been needing a wing for like 2-3 years.
And I think
that still continues to be a need.
And I think what they will probably say is they believe that he could defend NBA wings with his length and his physicality.
It's versatility.
And maybe he can a little bit, but he's not a wing. He's not. I mean, he's still. I know he's long. He's 6'8.5" wingspan, I believe. Great rebounder. I mean, he averaged almost 9 rebounds a game last year. He's a dog. He is. I mean, if you watch this guy play defense, it's disgusting.
Yep.
And what's good about it is we all love Davion's defense, but this guy has the length to contest, right? Yeah. He was a steals and blocks guy. You talk about stocks. We saw a lot of that from him at Providence. It's just, again, you've got a lot of guards here, and you're going, did you address some serious weaknesses
He has
tonight?
that physical wingspan like we keep talking about, but he also has the ability to get the deflections, to use that basketball IQ on the defensive end. Effort guy, great energy, all the things that we've already talked. I mean, someone that is averaging, what you said, 9 rebounds a game as a guard. It's like he is getting in there. He is being, crafty, doing whatever he needs to do to make sure that he is getting in position to get the rebound. I, again, really like Devin Carter. It's another guard as of right now.
He's a fantastic player, but it feels deflating.
Yeah, in Praneel, that is so fair to feel right now. Because like I'm told, even when Deuce the other day or like a few weeks ago was like, Morgan, you have to get to know Devin Carter a little bit more. And I'm like, another guard, Deuce? I don't give a shit about another guard. And then he started showing me more and more Devin Carter's game. I watched the game, all the things. And I'm like, I really like Devin Carter. And I still said to Deuce so, but I hope that they trade for an established player. That's not the case.
Yeah, and not, like, once again, Devin Carter's a fantastic player, but the question is he for Sacramento, right?
Yeah.
You have so many guards. Davion Mitchell, Kevin Huerter is still there. Colby Jones, you think is a guy. Keon Ellis developed incredibly well. Where does Devin Carter slot in, right? You need to trade at least 2 of those guards.
Yeah.
Without doubt in my mind.
You have to.
Davion Mitchell, if Davion Mitchell and Kevin Huerter are on this roster from at opening night, there are going to be a lot of problems on what's going on, right? Because you can't really play like 3 of those guys together consistently and hope to field a long, strong defense, especially in the way that today's NBA is going. Everyone's getting bigger. Everyone's getting longer. The Kings seem to be going in the opposite direction.
And the reality is this too, is like you're adding another guard. That means, so you had the 13th pick that you could have traded. No, you selected a player there. Okay. So now you have that. Now, if we're talking about the Kings making trades, significant trades to address those weaknesses that we have all seen for the better part of a year and a half now, it's going to mean like a 2028 first round pick, a 2030. We're going to go out further. And you're going to have to risk a little bit there to make that swing at a player that you like. But I'm with you guys. Like it's a really mixed feeling. I did I did an interview with this Memphis Grizzlies website where they were doing like a mock draft. And this was before Monk resigned. And it got to the Kings at 13. I said Devin Carter. But my rationale was like, hey, if you lose Malik Monk, maybe you make some other tweaks there. Like I like having a guy like Devin Carter on the team. And it doesn't take away how I feel about Devin Carter as a player, but you're just looking about how this thing is currently constructed, trying to figure out where are they trying to go here? And like, I'm putting myself in like De'Aaron Fox's shoes. We had talked about this in the piece in The Athletic. Like, this is De'Aaron Fox, while he's been in Sacramento, has seen the front office draft Tyrese Halliburton, Davion Mitchell, and now Devin Carter. And
That's going to be deflating, as we already said.
It has to be a bit, you know what I mean? Like, you're going, wing out. Give me some wing out. You know, it doesn't mean that I think Devin Carter can help this team, but the reality is like other moves have to be made. Otherwise, they're going to be a playing team or
it's got to be that
looking in.
The other moves, I mean, this is one of those situations where it's like, okay, if you feel like this is the better guard that you want to go forward with on your roster, then what other guards are you trading? What other moves are you making?
Man, I mean, I think he will be fantastic for this defense, without a doubt. I mean, he's a really good on-ball defender, fantastic high motor, great at recognizing things off ball as well. He makes plays defensively. He will generate steals, will generate blocks from, well, not much. Obviously, he's a shorter guy, but like he's a really good guard shot blocker. And the shooting reminds me a little bit of Kobe Jones, right? First 2 years of college wasn't really a shooter. This year he developed a little bit, but it's still like not a complete jumper. There's a little bit of a hitch in a shot. The hope is he develops that, but like once again, you're seeing kind of a trend with Monty McNair and his drafting style of drafting really tenacious, smart, high IQ guards that struggle as shooters. Man, I think that it makes sense with the Alex Caruso interest that I mentioned earlier. He will be transformative for that defense. It's just you want to also develop Keon, right? You can't, it'll be difficult to develop both because I don't know if you can play both of them together. I think you possibly can. They're both really, really long. They're both really, really good defensively and tenacious. But running a lot of 3-guard lineups again, unless you make a trade. And you need to make a trade. Davion Mitchell, Kevin Huerter, Harrison Barnes. I'm sorry. You guys were fantastic Kings, but like, gotta get another wing. Gotta get a guy that can really help you on the back.
So we've got Praneel with us, and we're lucky to be joined also at the moment by Bobby Gerould from hoopobsession.com. The Kings just make a pick. We were taking a look at your big board earlier. I didn't even look to see where Devin Carter was. I was kind of focused on Ron Holland because he was in the Kings range in mock drafts. He ends up going number 5 overall, but let's focus on the Kings at 13. Bobby, what's your reaction to this pick of Devin Carter?
Yeah, I like Devin Carter. I think, you and I and Mo had talked earlier about him the first time when we originally talked to him maybe a month or so ago. He's got the long wingspan. So, people are looking at, well, he's only 6'2", but he's got that 6'8 3/4 wingspan. You guys hearing me all right? Everything?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 6'8 3/4 wingspan. Praneel, good to see you, man.
Good to see you too.
Right on. So don't look at the 6'2 height. Look at the wingspan. And he's a tough guy. I don't know if how much you guys talked about all this stuff, but he set the draft combine record for the fastest 3/4 court sprint in history. I mean, he's that kind of an athlete, 42-inch vertical. His father played in the NBA for a long time, Anthony Carter. And so he has the pedigree and, he knows what it's about. And I've heard that he's, a lot like Davion Mitchell in the sense that he's a little bit of a perfectionist as far as his practice goes. A guy you almost have to drag out of the gym. So I think from that standpoint, he fits in. All the people who wanted a dog, if he ends up staying on this team, you got a dog here. I don't think there's any question about that. The shooting is going to be the thing. It wasn't real last year. He's improved all the way through the college ranks, and I think he shot it at like 37% from 3 last year. So he's one of those guys that he's a gym rat, which is something I've always been in favor of. Yeah. Someone who loves the game of basketball. So I think there's a lot of positives we can look at here. It was a little deflating, that Ron Holland went so early. I was kind of hoping maybe there was a chance. That's it. Praneel, who was your guy and what did you think?
I at this point, with all the trades all the moves that happened, I wanted Cody Williams, I wanted Ron Holland, I wanted Tejan Salon, simply because they're wings, they're long, they're athletic. And they could really help, like, maybe not right away, but once again, you're talking about asset management. You're talking about building a team to the extent of like OKC and all those teams that have all these assets where they can move really easily, where the Kings really aren't there yet, right? And also they can develop and play next to Keegan and Sabonis. So it was deflating seeing all those guys go and then seeing us take another guard. But I think Carter is probably the best guard to take if you're going to take a guard, without a doubt, especially for the way this team is built. He is really a transformative defender in a sense. He does everything on the defensive end. Great, smart player. Great on the back line. He averaged, I think, 1 block a game, 2.8 stocks with 1.8 steals. High block percentage as a guard. A lot of Derek White, because he does everything. I mean, I think the playmaking is solid. I think people underrate him in that aspect. He has good vision. He's a smart player. Fantastic rebounder for a guard. I mean, you talk about 9 rebounds. Ridiculous.
Yep.
And the incredible athlete. I mean, he'll get you rim pressure instantly, which is something this team needed. This team needs rim pressure because Fox is, you're seeing Fox develop as like a mid-range scorer, and he's going a little bit away from his rim pressure. His rim attempts every single year has decreased. So Devin Carter will add that other aspect, and he'll play fantastically next to Malik Monk. And it's just, once again, roster construction wise, this is not the right pick, but talent wise, absolutely great pick, right? So you need to make moves outside of this. You need to trade either Kevin Huerter, Davion, or like HB to get a wing, right? It's been something I've been saying repeatedly.
Bobby, and going off of that, Praneel, because Bobby, that's what I was wondering, your opinion on that. When you saw Devin Carter drafted at 13, are you under the impression that the Kings are going to be very aggressive in making other moves since they are so guard heavy?
It seems pretty crowded. You wonder about, Keon Ellis and Colby Jones, and there's just a wealth of depth of guys that are similar right now. So yeah, I mean, ideally, I think if you could flip one of those guards for as Praneel is saying, someone who can get in that power forward, wing, small forward, power forward, type position, someone with some length. For me, it's been pretty simple for the Kings. You've got to get better and more efficient where Harrison Barnes' minutes, were. I would love to see Harrison Barnes, if he does stick around on this team, I'd love to see him be the guy who comes off the bench and plays 15, 16 minutes a game. I think he'd be a top tier guy in that role. But I'm past the point where, he should be playing 30 minutes as a starter, so I just think that's the path to more efficiency. I also believe that if Monk just plays more, last year, and
22
really
minutes.
for the last 2 years, it's like, let's get those minutes up, let's not leave things on the table here. There's, I've sung this tune quite a bit. People are sick of hearing it, but hit at the end of the game and in overtime could be a hit at the beginning of the game. I mean, why play with a hand tied behind your back? If Monk is good enough to finish and good enough to be your guy in overtime, and he's clearly one of your 3 or 4 best players, for crying out loud, why are we screwing around with not playing him as many minutes as he should play? And usually that starts with starting a guy. So I think the Kings can get better in that regard. I think they could get better replacing Harrison's minutes with someone who's more efficient. And maybe now this is some more capital that you have, or something more to play with in your guard depth that maybe opens something up. You obviously can't think they're done.
No.
Yeah, and the cool thing with Devin Carter, I think, is it gives more opportunity to play Monk in those 3 guard lineups because of the length, because of the quickness, because of the ability to play in the back line, right? He plays bigger than he is, which is something, as much as I love Davion, can't really do because of the size, because of the size limitations, right? So if you're swapping, like direct swapping, not thinking about who you're adding at the wing, direct swapping Carter for Davion in those minutes, in those rotations, you can play more 3 guard lineups with Carter, Keon, Monk, and Fox, whatever 3 guard combination you want, right? And I think if you keep Carter, that is the team you'll see. You'll see a lot of smarter but way more scrappy lineups where you're just going to be a bunch of dogs trying to get after the ball with Keon, Fox, and Carter hounding people on the perimeter, which I think will be a joy to watch. But you can only do so much at the perimeter if you don't have a guy in the back line being able to really lock down the paint a little bit, play that backline defense, play it at the nail, which Barnes really can't do. So need to make some moves, but Carter does excite me as a defensive prospect that can really develop this team's identity at that perimeter, which we saw Keon add to, right? You can see identity forming on the defense end of Carter and Keon and Fox.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to have to worry about this not being a Mike Brown guy. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh
he's
yeah,
gonna be a Mike Brown guy, and that's a thing. I mean, don't
Yeah.
you guys think that's a thing?
Yeah.
Oh, there's no
Yeah.
doubt about it. He has an expectation. He wants guys that are going to get after it. And, watching Devin Carter, just you look at the numbers, that's fine. But I was just more attached to what he was doing defensively, just blowing up screens. I mean, this guy is relentless getting around screens. You guys obviously saw more of him than I did. Do you think he can guard multiple positions in the NBA because of the length he has and the strength he has? Do you see him defending ones and twos? Could he defend a small forward depending on the matchup? Where do you think he kind of fits in there?
I think ones and twos and some of the small forwards. I mean, at the end of the day, you're talking 6'8" and 3/4 wingspan. So that is right. I would say 6'9" is the wingspan of an average shooting guard on a winning team. I did that a while back. I broke down all the wingspans of everybody at the different positions in the NBA, but just on the winning teams. I don't care what the losers do. So, and when you look at it, it's 6'7" for a point guard. It's 6'9" for a shooting guard. It's 6'11", which, by the way, is Domas's wingspan. That's for small forwards.
That's crazy.
And it's 7'2" for power forwards and 7'4" for centers.
Wow.
So that's kind of gives some people the idea of the deficit from a wingspan standpoint that Domas plays with each night. And by the way, getting back a little bit to the dog thing, to me, the Kings don't have a toughness problem. Domas Sabonis is a tough SOB. You know what I mean? Like I just don't know many players that are tougher than him. Now, he might not show it. He might not pound on his chest and yell at people and do all that kind of stuff, which maybe, I don't know if I'm getting my dog references confused here. And I kind of get what people mean. But Davion Mitchell to me is a dog. Trey Lyles is a tough customer. Sabonis is a really tough dude. So, and now you've added another guy who I think has that mentality, to really get after it. So I like him. I think it adds to the depth. I think, he's come a long way as an offensive player, but you're going to hang the hat on the defense. And I've been doing this a long time. 26 years now, actually. This is my 26th draft, believe it or not. I started sending out my little reports, Praneel, when I was, it was 1999. I sent out my first draft report, and no one paid attention to it at all. I don't even know if we had the internet. I guess we did. But yeah, I sent it to like Jerry Reynolds and Danny Ainge and a few other people. And I don't even, like, Jerry's cool enough that he, let me know that he read through it. But like, I don't even know if Danny Ainge ever saw it or not. But anyway, the point is, I've been doing this a long time, and to see Devin Carter with a defensive rating that's like, I think it was 5.0 points better than the team defensive rating. That's a big number for a guard, which speaks to the kind of defender and scrappy guy that you're getting.
With Devin Carter too, it's just, I am so mixed tonight, because I'm with you guys. I love him so much as a player. I guess I just, in my head, was just thinking so much about a wing or a potential trade that Devin Carter, after the Kings select or sign Monk again, I'm like, they're not taking a guard here. They're not taking a guard here. But if he was on their board as best player available, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
It just
Take the best player available and figure it out later.
That is what I mean. We say that, you guys. We do say that every draft.
What do you guys think his ceiling is? Because to me, I think
Derek White.
His ceiling is Derek White. You'll take that.
Yeah, I would take that.
You'll take that. I'll sign up for that. I just think I don't feel like he's going to be like a terrible NBA player. I think worst case, he's a rotational guy. He's going to be in the NBA for a long time.
Yeah, I think, in my opinion, he's the safest guy in the draft. Simply because of how hard he works. I think the shooting will translate. Really worked on it throughout his time in Providence. You saw genuine growth year by year. And I mean, every single team needs a guy that will play every single play with the same amount of intensity.
Yeah.
And that is what Devin Carter is, right? He plays every single play with 100%. Constantly going after loose balls. I mean, he's like, I saw a tweet that said he's a 90-10 guy, not a 50-50 guy in those 50-50 balls. That is absolutely the perfect way to describe it, right? He will go after it every single night. And the defense is undeniable. That will translate without a doubt in my mind, right? And with the Mike Brown fit, he is really like a Mike Brown type of guy. I think Devin Carter is like Davion Mitchell upgraded in the best way to put it, right? Because he will give very similar things to Davion on that end with the on-ball pressure, the defensive talent, but also give you other things with his ability to be a weak side shot blocker as a guard, really good at shot blocker, really good as a rebounder, right? And the shooting stuff is probably a little bit better than Davion's because of he was a better free throw shooter in college than Davion was. Davion was around 60%. I think Carter was around 75, 74%, right?
Yep,
Which obviously is not great, but it's still like an upgrade over Davion. He showed growth every single year in shooting. So still, I have hopes.
Bobby, what about too him being like an older rookie, you know, 3 years of college ball, and we keep talking about like being a Mike Brown guy. I just feel like the maturity of what Mike Brown would want with this roster is right there too.
Yes, Dalton Connect finally goes to the Lakers there. Yeah, Morgan, I agree. So he had his 22nd birthday, March 18th. So yeah, 22 years old. And then again, you know, his dad was a point guard in the NBA, Anthony Carter. And so just from growing up in the NBA and being around the players and the gyms and the lifestyle and understanding the demands and all of that, he's ready-made to come in, as Praneel said, a very safe pick in that regard. 37% of his three-pointers this year, 74.9 at the free throw line. One of the things that I always look at, actually a couple things, I referenced it earlier, the defensive rating was a full 5.0 points better than the Providence team defensive rating. To me, that's one of the best indicators is to look at a team's defensive rating and then see, the off and on. 1.34 to 1 assist to turnover ratio, which is solid for a shooting guard. Not great, but solid. We mentioned the athleticism, and then the other analytic piece that I look at a lot is box score plus minus, because it's just pure off and on. And so the Big East had Donovan Clingan and all the guys from UConn. Carter finished second in Big East box score plus minus. He was sixth in the entire NCAA in that category. So you're talking about a guy, again, who's affecting not just on defense, but also offensively, truly a two-way player, not in the sense of G League NBA, but two-way as in the sense of offense and defense. So I think the whole thing's going to be whether or not he shoots it, whether or not he can shoot the three-pointer from NBA range at that continued 37%. If he can, then he's going to be in good shape.
And looking at his numbers last year, he started at South Carolina, last 2 years at Providence. Last season, averaged just under 20 points a game, averaged 8.7 rebounds, 3.6 assists, 2.7 turnovers, 1 block, and just under 2 steals per game. Shot 47% from the field, 37.7% from three-point range, and then the free throw percentage that you guys both mentioned, just under 75% from him. His dad, of course, played 13 years in the NBA and is currently an assistant coach with the Memphis Grizzlies, Anthony Carter. So, yeah, I think Kings fans are they're going to love Devin Carter. Like, he's going to be a fan favorite. You can already see it at Golden One Center when he's diving on the floor for a loose ball or getting a reap. He's just an energy guy. Like, you will love how this guy plays.
He plays kind of the way he looks, right? I mean, he's got the crazy... he's like Richard Jefferson shirtless tonight. What was, whatever. These kids.
As the young kids say, he has aura. He absolutely has aura.
Yeah. So Sacramento, yes, 100%. I think they will love them some Devin Carter.
And I think the other reality, and this is always tough to say on a night like this, where fans and we're all sitting here going, "What trade is something going to happen? Kuzma, this." It's like, this is the NBA draft, right? Like, trades can still happen tonight.
Absolutely.
They can happen tomorrow and day 2, the first ever day 2 of the draft. You've got free agency coming up, trade season. This is transaction season the next few weeks. So it doesn't mean that this is the final team. It doesn't mean, hey, Kings are opening up with 17 guards coming up in October. That's not necessarily going to be the case.
Right.
But I am fascinated to see how they build this up because they definitely have a lot of guards.
Yeah, they must
this-
have their
this is
eye
a-
on someone. Yeah.
This is an interesting stat. Carter averaged more rebounds than Klingen, Sar, and Filipowski. So you really do get a transformative rebounding guard at peak 13, and that was an area I think we struggled with. Outside of Sabonis, you don't really have any high level rebounders. Barnes is not a good rebounder. Let's be completely honest. Keegan's solid, but Carter gives that other aspect as he crashes the board. He just gets after it, which is really, really fun.
Yep. 100%. I'm with it.
Deuce and Mo, Deuce and Mo, Deuce and Mo. They tell you what they know. Deuce and Mo, Deuce and Mo, Deuce and Mo. The podcast that you know.